Hi and welcome to Law App. This is a brief video on completing timesheets and the timesheet management area inside of the Law App system. I'm going to begin by doing a quick time entry underneath the home menu at the top left, quick time. I can choose the file that I'm working on. If I did already have a file open, or my personal preferences were that it would use the file that I had open last, a file number may automatically fill into this area. And if it did automatically fill in and I didn't want that file number, I could press the X there to clear it and look up another matter. Once I've found the file I want to select, I can choose it and then move down from there. The time entry moves down and then across. I have not got my clock running, but if I do run my clock, I can press play. If you'd like your clock automatically turned on whenever you start a new QuickTime, you can go into your profile and My Preferences, and you can autofill the current file on the timesheet entry or auto start the clock on a new time entry for yourself. Back to QuickTime. As you can see, leaving a time entry at any point will simply kill the time entry depending on what you're doing. If you do have a clock on, the clock will stay active and the time entry will stay active, even if you move away from the screen. I can go down and I will always be defaulted to my own user, but I can choose another user from the drop down. It will always default to my default rate if I've selected one. Otherwise, I can choose any rate from the list. I can fill in the amount of units and it will automatically calculate the total for me. If I'd been using a clock and I'd pressed stop, it would have automatically calculated the clock for me as well. I can enter any extra details that I like in here or leave the time entry as it is. If I'm satisfied that I won't need to touch this again before billing, I can press save and finalize. It doesn't permanently lock the time entry, but it does indicate to a bookkeeper that it's ready to go. If I would like to leave it in draft, I can press save. If you are fairly sure that this is ready to go, press save and finalize to save you from coming back and having to finalize items. Given the option to simply do a new time entry on exactly the same file, or I can flag out of here and I can choose a different file. I can start my clock. As you can see, I have my running man, and the running man just means that I can run anywhere in the system or move tabs and come back and my clock will still be running. Again, exactly the same details here, my name, the task that I was completing, and I can change that over to another item. If I press the stop button, it'll automatically give me the units. If that had been over 6 minutes, it would have calculated to 2. When I'm finished, I can press save and finalize. I don't need this next time entry, so I can just exit out. I'm now going to go to do some timesheets from the file and from the inline timesheet area. So I can go to time and all time entries. This is my timesheet for today, and it will always take me into the user who's logged in and all the time entries they have done for today. These are the 2 entries we just did. And if I press add here, then I'm adding what's called an inline time entry. Again, I can choose the file. I can start the clock if I choose a different rate item and put in the amount of units. I can edit the transaction note if I like, or I can simply press save and finalize. So I'll do that again. Add file number. I'll leave it on email this time and go straight to units and simply type 8 units. At the end, I have a drop down button and it will allow me to open up that time entry, read or edit that file note for that time entry note, and then I can exit that to close it up. When I'm finished, I can press save or save and finalize. So I have 4 entries in the system now, and if I press sum, then I will get the sum of all of those entries. If you are moving between tabs and doing time entries on lots of different tabs, you can always just press the latest button to make sure it's refreshed on this screen. If I'm not happy with how these columns are set up, I can right click on the column heading and I can add or remove items that I don't want to see. If I was to remove build and then I was to remove the value of notes, that means notes would take up all available space. If I'm happy with that, I say save. I can open up the full time entry and make any extra edits that I like to the description or any other area. In order to make an edit though, it would need to be in draft. To change an item back to draft, I simply put the drop down on the status, change it to draft and press save. Don't press finalize and save, or you're basically just putting it exactly back where it was. Once I've made the edits that I want, I can then press finalize and save. If you flag all of the items that are in draft by clicking this item at the top or the ones that are in draft, you can press the finalize button and it will flag them all as finalized, and then you can save. Clicking on the filter will allow you to filter the period of which you'd like to see this screen. Perhaps you'd like to see a longer time frame, a month or a week, and you can select a different filter inside of the filter button. Going into the file, selecting a file, and going to the financial area. The first tab in financials that I'm presented with is all of the time entries. Those that are marked with a $sign are billed, and those are with blue ticks are finalized and ready to bill, and those marked with anything else are one of the other status environments. No other item will come into a bill except for a blue ticked item. Some reports will show you draft, sleep, stop, paused, and recording and finalized, but they will not show you non-billable or dismissed or archived if you're looking for a pre-billing report. They will belong to other reporting. So I'm going to finalize this time entry and I'm going to press save. You can choose how things are ordered, and you can do that by created date as well. If you'd like to add a time entry to this matter, you can simply press the add button. Your time entry is added to the top here, and it's an email, but I can change it to a telephone call for 6 units. It's going to automatically calculate the amount, and I can either type in line or open up the time entry and add any extra notes that I want. If I'm happy with it, I can finalize and save. There's my time entry at the top, as long as I'm sorted in the right direction. If I'm wanting to refresh at any time, especially if I'm moving between tabs or moving between financial items, I can press the latest button. Keep in mind that if you are processing transactions or time entries on other tabs, that it is completely invisible to this tab until this tab has had a chance to refresh. So if it's been sitting on this same screen without moving, a good idea is to press the latest button, or if you move anywhere, open a file, open the timesheet area, it will naturally refresh itself. There's quite a lot of time entry reports sprinkled throughout the system, so here's one based on the file, and there's many underneath the reporting area on the dashboard for time and file related items. One to look out for is a billing preparation, which will show you all the things that need to be billed on any matter. Again, from the home button, I can go back to home, and there is a sneaky QuickTime also available in the top of the home button. It's very similar to the QuickTime, only larger. It works exactly the same as the QuickTime from the left menu. If you're not satisfied with any of your file rates, it could be because your employee rates are set as the base rate to override other rates. So that is something you could check. You can also go to rate codes. So it may be that a rate code in your environment is set to be more expensive than another item. Email may be $400 an hour and court may be $900 an hour, and you can determine those items here. This is something that usually an admin does, but if you are finding any strange amounts in the system, this could be the source of the issue. That was a brief rundown on timesheets inside of the Law App system. I will do one more time entry, and I will do that from the Lawrence system. Down in the bottom right, you'll find Lawrence, our AI assistant, and if I choose add a time entry or file note, I can press my speaker button and refer to a file by name and ask it to fill in a time entry for me by voice to text or typing, and then I can even tell it to format that and make it sound better, and it will insert a time entry for you. Unfortunately, during a video sequencing, I cannot do that for you. Can copy and paste some text during a video, so I'll do that to show you, but voice recording via video and on the Lawrence system at the same time isn't possible. I'll just paste one in. It says I just got off the phone with Smith, took about 20 minutes, discussed the treatment and next steps with the physio. I'm going to press send. Really wants me to specify which Smith file I'm talking about, which is fair enough. I didn't really give it a lot of information. So I am going to choose this Henny Smith one here. It says here's the time entry, phone call with Henny Smith discussing treatment and next steps with physio, 20 minutes. It knows it's me, and that is my hourly rate and the amount of units and the amount. I press confirm. So you can imagine that if you give it a fairly brief description and something about a file, it'll give you some options. If you give it more information about the file, it'll choose the correct file for you. So let's go check that out, shall we? I'm going to go to latest here and refresh. It's left it in draft for me, and at any point I can just press the finalize button here. Finalize if I'm happy with that. And I've checked the time entry to make sure it says exactly what I'd like, and then I can say finalize and save. And now that time entry that I did through Lawrence is in the system. There's lots you can do with Lawrence, and that's just one small feature. If you leave something a little bit more detailed, you can have Lawrence do a file note and a time entry from the one entry. Thanks for joining me at LawApp, and I hope this has been a helpful demonstration of the timesheet functionality in its most basic form. Join us for future training videos on other more detailed areas.